Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel here at Watchbox Reviews. I'd really appreciate it, and I update daily. If you like this watch, you can purchase it on thewatchbox.com. Buy, trade, and sell luxury watches on thewatchbox.com. Today we're discussing the Omega Seamaster Professional Planet Ocean Chronograph, a hardcore diver that is also a chronograph and chock-a-block with thoughtful engineering and ergonomic features. This is a watch that is 45.5 millimeters in diameter, not counting crown guard, chronograph pushers, and helium valve, and yet it wears easily on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. Yes, big is the look, but if you like a large watch with generous proportions, you'll find that this is one that fits comfortably on a small wrist. I would say likely down to a wrist as small as 15 centimeters circumference. You can wear this watch easily because even though it is a generous 19.4 millimeters thick and 45.5 across the diagonal of the case, nevertheless, it's a nicely constrained 51.4 millimeters lug-to-lug, which is why it can sit square and comfortable on my wrist. The strap is a lovely piece, and as you can see, where the strap exits the lugs, there's really no flare. It pretty much exits straight down, whereas some straps that are contoured to the case look great and create an integrated aesthetic as you have here. Most of those straps also want to flare out and fight you. This is pretty much a straight exit down and around your wrist, so it works well with the smaller wrist. The watch has a nice evenly shaped case back that creates no pressure points or hot spots. The strap is very substantial, as you can see, thick and flared and defined by shoulders. As it approaches the lugs, it thins out considerably on the underside of the wrist. You can see that there's a slight tractive pattern molded in to better aggress against the wrist and remain planted, and that thin underside is quite supple and comfy on the wrist, if I may say so. Comfy being a term of art among us watch reviewers. Now you can see the clasp is substantial. With twin trigger release, this one's quite new. As you can see, the tolerances are excellent. It features a minderless system that allows you to tuck the excess strap length underneath the clasp body. So the way this works in practice is that you take the strap, you buckle it down to whatever aperture is appropriate for your wrist, probably the last one for me, and then it tucks under the clasp. So there are no minder loops on the top, and there's no excess length flapping in the breeze. It's also a nice system because of the twin trigger release. You have that ability to rely on the triggers to keep everything closed. You have to push one and the other to open. It's not friction fit, and Omega didn't settle for a cheap clamshell lock. The case itself is familiar to Omega fans. You'll note these bevels with, let's get the focus back in, with the polished flanks and satin finished sheer of the side. It's a familiar look that's been used on many Seamasters and Speedmasters over the years. It's handsome, it's nicely contoured, and it's suited to scaling, so it scales up nicely for a big watch like this. You will note that there is a helium escape valve. You thread this out, and saturation divers, you know when you'll need it. It's there to prevent crystal and seal blowout when you are ascending from a dive in which exotic mixtures of gas may cause helium to enter the watch, so you won't blow out your accessories because of the helium escape valve, which activates at between 2 and 3 bar internal pressure. Now, the timepiece does feature a diving style bezel, so you will note the timepiece featuring a chronograph and a dive bezel. You can time 2 events concurrently. And the insert on the bezel, per the 2011 changes to the Planet Ocean line, featuring full liquid metal set into ceramic. So liquid metal is sort of an amorphous glass-like metallic structure that is then deposited into wells on the ceramic bezel insert. The two are co-bonded so they can never separate, and of course the ceramic creating a very scratch-resistant surface, much like the sapphire, simply resistant to most scratches and scuffs. The watch has a chunky and pleasing bezel detent, and of course the dial itself is upscale. As the Planet Ocean is a flagship piece, the hands as well as the indices are white gold. Let me see if I can get a bit closer. You'll note that the dial itself is a matte black to minimize reflection. It is a very functional timepiece, and there's a mono counter at 3 o'clock to allow the watch to have a pleasing vintage-inspired twin register layout, but you have chronograph minutes and hours on a single register superimposed at 3 o'clock. Constant seconds at 9 o'clock. You have a date window at 6. The Arabic applied 12 at 12 o'clock, applied Omega logo and marquee. The contrast level is high, and it is a handsome watch. It's also a watch that has a sensational loom shot, so stay tuned for the end of the video. We're going to explore that in some detail. You will note that, as with all caliber 9300 and 8500 derivatives, save the date 8 and a few specialized variants. You have that time zone functionality whereby you can jump the hour in 1 hour increments, and as you travel you can change zones. You can even travel both directions across the international date line and roll the date in both directions. Pull the crown out to extremity and you have hacking or stop seconds, so you can halt everything and synchronize to a reference time. The crown pushers are shouldered, they are not screw down, so you have instant access to them. I won't necessarily endorse Omega's claim that the watch can be operated as a chronograph underwater while cycling the functions submerged. Omega has made that claim. I don't back it up. I think you only do that with a magnetic, non-continuous pusher system. This watch, however, does have remarkable water resistance. Assuming you keep your crown screwed down and chronograph pushers disused, 600 meters is what you get out of this case and seal combination, and all of that in service of the protection for the caliber 9300 twin-barrel 60-hour power reserve automatic chronograph. So you'll note 54 joules automatic winding. You can see the column wheel structure through a skeletonized portion of the bridge. It also features a vertical clutch. Now as you cycle the chronograph, you will note that you can see the column wheel in action. Full balance bridge with a free-sprung index for shock resistance, SI14 silicon hairspring for anti-magnetism. Twin mainspring barrels give you that 60-hour reserve. The twin barrels in series also ensure a very even torque release throughout the full life of the power reserve from full wind to minimum wind. A COSC certified Swiss chronometer. It also features the latest tri-level Omega coaxial escapement system as envisioned by independent watchmaker George Daniels and industrialized by Omega. It helps with short-term timing stability, long-term precision, as well as reducing the long-term maintenance requirements. Now, because of the vertical clutch system used to engage the chronograph, you have a chronograph that starts without any jump to the chronograph seconds hand. A lateral clutch will jump, a vertical clutch will not. Why do you care? Well, because when a chronograph seconds hand jumps 2 seconds at the start, you're going to get an inherently inaccurate measurement. The other advantage of the vertical clutch is that you can simply leave all of this running. Leave the chronograph in action if you prefer to have your hours, minutes, and seconds at center. You can leave a vertical clutch chronograph running without any additional hazard, wear, or tear to the movement. This is a timepiece that puts it all together. If bigger is better, this is pretty close to as good as it gets. See it and go big on the Watchbox. And we're back with the Omega Seamaster Professional Planet Ocean Chronograph. As you can see, not only robustly loomed at night, but there is a differential lume coloration, so you can easily see the luminescent index of the bezel and align it for ease of reading in the dark. Whether you're taking the plunge or simply a desk diver, see this one by the light of day on the Watchbox.